Mark Twain was satirizing, he was critiquing the idea of the use of some god to justify killing people. And he argued, you cry for these soldiers who come back and they are wounded, but you pray for the war itself. When you pray for a war, there are going to be counter actions to that war. You're going to kill other people. So if you pray for your victory, you're praying for the loss of other people. And to use God, he was arguing, as a justification for that is wrong on its face. It's wrong to everybody involved. Where on the other side, Kipling was essentially claiming that it was God's purpose to use religion, to use Western culture to break brown people, to break other people. And this was the deep divide within progressivism of this time, that many progressives like Twain were arguing, hey, you cannot both want to move forward and use the tropes, the ways in which people are controlled of the past. You can't do the two things at once. This will become the division. But people first have to become aware that they're being racist, that they're being discriminatory. And that will have to wait. That will come later. And so when you look at imperialism, what you're looking at is these three basic threads. First, a desire by American corporations to expand trade into new markets. So in the late 19th century, you have these two Great Depressions, one in 1873 and one in 1893. And economists begin to argue, oh, well, like, there's only a limited market in America. And so when American economy drops, then the sales in America will drop as well. And so if you want to level the economic disruptions, the way to do that is to spread it across larger geographies. At the same time that this is happening, the attempt to open markets by corporations, missionaries, Christian missionaries from America are going to countries that are not Christian, that do not want them there, proposing their religious faith on their people, because that is not their religion. Those missionaries are being killed or jailed for breaking the law of the country that they are trying to invade. And missionaries then tell corporations, hey, we could join you if you come in with us. If we can come in with you, sell sewing machines and soap and consumer goods to people, we'll like back that as like kind of God. God is a consumer. And because corporations want to enter these new markets, they need somebody to protect them. Missionaries need somebody to protect them. And that's where the navies come in. That's where military buildup come in. So while on the one side you have Mahan and Roosevelt, who are calling on navies to make this great country, this big country, they're also attempting to protect the economic advancement of America. So where you have somebody like Turner, who is advocating for, the extension of the frontier as a way of like facilitating and expanding Americans' identity through imperialism. At the end of the day, imperialism is not just a project of racism and white supremacy. It really is a project of economics, of corporatism, of the attempt to expand corporation out. This part of progressivism will get disconnected. This conservatism part of progressivism will be removed, because oppression of minority people is it's anathema. It's the opposite of progressivism. And so when you see sort of what progressivism intended to be as a sort of movement, it becomes clear why progressivism, in the minds of contemporary people, is about the expansions of rights and stuff, because that was really what progressivism was trying to do in the 19th century and the early 20th century. But the politics of making that move were difficult in a society that didn't recognize the racism itself. Progressivism attempted to expand government in the effort to protect the poor, women, workers, expand worker rights, control business excess, save the environment, protect the environment, and to expand voting rights. The one thing that progressives believed is that they believed in the ability of the people to make good decisions for themselves. They believed that the government was positioned to help the wealthy, and that the government was in fact being controlled by the wealthy and big business and economic interests, and that harmed regular people. And regular people recognized that they were being harmed by this imbalance within the political system. An example of this is that between McKinley and Bryan in 1896, this was the first corporately funded election. Rockefeller, Carnegie, and Morgan joined forces together. They pooled $10 million, which was 10 times the amount of money ever spent on an election up to that point. But they put $10 million into the McKinley campaign in the attempt to stop the populist movement. And that created an enormous imbalance. $10 million on the McKinley side, $1 million, that's how much Bryan had. And he got swamped. And this became very apparent to people when progressivism really began to move. And progressives had to answer one thing to themselves. Were they going to put their lot behind a big government or big business? And they made a decision. They made a decision that big government was a much less frightening prospect than big business, because with the government, they could vote. That vote did not exist between the workers and business. And so progressives decided that their best hope was to create a government that would advocate for regular people, that would regulate business, that would control or help mitigate the vast disparity between the wealthy and the poor. By that I mean working class people. I mean regular people. That the idea that somehow there was a level playing field, or even in contemporary society that there's a level playing field, is just fantasy. That the advantages of wealth outstrip anything that's happening for regular people. That the outcomes of wealth are consistent, whereas the outcomes of people who lack wealth are completely inconsistent. So people decided that it was better to expand the vote, to give more people the right to vote, so that people could be represented by a government. And so this is why they also took down the constitutional framework that originally had senators appointed by state legislatures and handed that to people, so that now we vote for senators directly. Why? Because big businesses were the ones who backed the appointment of these senators in the past, and progressives wanted people to have a voice. And so these are the things that affected people. Complete inequality between the worker and the business. Unsafe working conditions. Businesses could do anything they wanted to workers. They could force workers like Jurgis to work in unsafe environments. They could pay them whatever they wanted. If they didn't want to pay them the same rate next week that they paid this week, they could do that. Workers had no ability to do anything. There was no unemployment. There was no minimum wage. There were no maximum hours. There was no safety regulations. There was nothing. Businesses controlled everything. Progressives were really after. They were really after public participation, saving themselves through the vote. All right. There you go. If you need anything from me, email me or come to office hours. All right. I'll see you all later.